Beware the Fish by Gordon Korman, Room 13. The town of Chutney, population 3,100, is located on Highway 48, 7 miles north of McDonald Hall. It has the usual doctor, dentist, police station, undertaker, and combination motel gas station. It also has, on the main street, television station CHUT, serving Chutney and the surrounding area and the surrounding territory. It was early Tuesday morning in room 13 of the Chutney Motel. Sergeant Harold P. Featherstone, Jr., of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, had already cut himself twice trying to shave with cold water. Finally, in disgust, he toweled the shaving cream off his face, left the bathroom, and switched on the TV. He was just in time for the morning news. The black and white picture was of poor quality, and he just might have to watch it all day. He reflected glumly. Chief Bullock had assigned him to investigate some reports about a strange fish that people in the area were seeing on their screens. Special Division thought it might be the work of a terrorist group, more likely someone playing a joke. Featherstone muttered to himself, but that was before he saw the fish. It happened at 8:45. Suddenly, the newscaster's face was replaced by the large, fuzzy image of a fish. A loud voice shouted, "The fish revolution has begun! The fish is everywhere! Beware the fish!" Followed by maniacal laughter. Then the newscaster returned. Shocked, Featherstone reached quickly for a pad and pencil. Bruno Walton flicked the switch, deactivating Elmer's machine. "Love it!" he exclaimed, dressing like a whirlwind. It was his custom not to get out of bed before 8:45, and being on time for 9 o'clock classes was not easy. "Come on, hurry up," Boots prodded, waiting at the door. "We don't want to be on report. The fish is probably mad enough at us for last night when I think of what Sidney did to Miss Scrimmage." "He didn't do anything," objected Bruno. "It was just an accident. Kathy shouldn't have screamed like that. Kathy was just creating a diversion to help us get away. It was quick thinking." "It was definitely quick," agreed Bruno, pulling a t-shirt over his head. "But I'm not sure it was thinking. Anyway, Miss Scrimmage doesn't know it was us." "Let's go. What are you waiting for?" The two boys ran off to class. "Men," said Bruno over the lunch table, "I now call upon your powers of ingenuity to save McDonald Hall." "Cut the drivel," snarled Wilbur Hackenschlemmer. Ever since the school's austerity program had begun, he had been in an indescribably foul mood. "What is it you want us to do this time?" Bruno was undaunted. "We've decided that the best way to bring publicity to the hall is to get ourselves into the Rankin Book of World Records." He slammed a thick paperback book onto his tray. "Here's the book. All we have to do is take a record and beat it. Do I have a volunteer?" There was absolute silence. "I'm very disappointed in you," said Bruno. "Okay, let the bulldozers come and flatten everything. Let them pave our lawn and put up a parking lot. I'm the only guy who cares, and I can't do it by myself." "Oh, Bruno, shut up," sighed Boots. "We'd like to save the school, but world records are hard to break. I was going to go to the Chutney Fair and try to break the record for riding the Ferris wheel, but I looked it up and found that the guys who hold it rode it for more than 4 weeks. I can just see me asking the fish for 4 weeks off school so I can ride a Ferris wheel." "Hey, I know," said Pete Anderson brightly. "Wilbur could set an eating record. Anything anybody else can eat, he can eat more of." "I'm out of training," Wilbur replied sadly. "I haven't had a square meal in so long that my stomach probably shrunk down to nothing." "How about apple peeling?" suggested Sidney Ramplowski. "When Chris Talbot peels an apple, he peels it all in one piece, and so thin that one time I'll bet it was more than 10 feet long." Bruno rippled through the book. "Apple peeling, here it is." His face fell. "The longest apple peel is 172 feet. Chris is a little short." "How about showering?" asked Larry Wilson. "Perry Elbert spends half his life in the shower. Mort says that when Perry gets upset, he gets into the shower and stays there half the day." Boots grabbed the record book and turned to the appropriate listing. "No good," he said. "It says here the record is something like 8 days. Not even Perry could get that upset." Read us some," Pete suggested, "and we'll see if they can be done." Boots handed the book back to Bruno, who thumbed the pages. "Let's see. Gold panning, grape catching, grave digging, guitar playing." "Boots can do that," said Sidney. "I don't think so," answered Boots glumly. "You'd have to play more than 111 hours and 15 minutes to beat the record. I don't think the fish would be too thrilled with that. And the teachers wouldn't be so happy after having their classes set to music either. He turned a few pages. Let's see, what else is there? Piano smashing, plate spinning, pogo stick jumping. I could do that, offered Sydney. I'm really good with a pogo stick. There was general laughter, punctuated by Larry's snort of disgust. If you can beat 42,000 hops in 6 hours and 6 minutes, speak up, said Bruno. Pole sitting, let's see, forget it. The record is 273 days. He flipped another couple of pages. Hey, look at this. The biggest ball of string is 4 meters in diameter. No, we haven't got enough time to collect something like that. How about talking? No, 138 hours is a little too long. The fish wouldn't allow it. If it weren't for the fish, we could set all kinds of wonderful records. He glanced down the page. Hot gazoobies! This is it. Tin can pyramid. The record is a pyramid with a base almost 8 feet square. It was 15 feet high and used 22,140 pop cans. The base was 40 by 40 cans. He whistled. That's pretty good, but we can beat it. We'll make one with a base 45 cans square. Elmer? Elmer chewed thoughtfully on a dried fig. Such a structure, he said, would be 17 feet 8 inches high with a base 8 feet 10 inches square. Based on the dimensions of an average soda pop can, we would require 31,395 cans. No sweat, exclaimed Bruno. Everywhere you look, there's a pop can laying around. The chutney dump must be full of them, added Wilbur. And if we can't find enough there must be millions around Toronto. In this case, said Boots, the litter bug is our best friend. If we can get everyone in the school scavenging for pop cans and all the girls at scrimmages too, we can get enough. We'd have to go off campus, warned Boots, and we can't have everybody requesting leave on the same day. I take it we don't want the fish to know about this? You take it right, agreed Bruno. He'd probably tell us to stop our foolishness and concentrate on our studies. The way I see it, we can all walk to Chutney Friday night, and from there we'll catch buses all over the place. Gormley, Stouffville, Uxbridge, and a lot of us can even go into Toronto. We'll all trickle back sometime Saturday. There was a wild babble of protest. Bruno stood up and pounded the table. All right, you guys, I know it's risky, but there's safety in numbers. The fish won't be able to expel all 600 of us, and if we don't do it, then we might as well go home anyway, because pretty soon there won't be any McDonald Hall. The protest died. How about this? Challenged Boots. Where are we going to keep 30,000 pop cans? I thought of that already, replied Bruno smugly. We can hide them in dormitory 3. Nobody even goes there since they closed it up. It's the perfect plan. He paused. Well, what do you think? Let's do it, said Pete. We've got nothing to lose that we won't lose in the long run anyway. The boys at the table murmured their agreement. Good, said Bruno. We've got until Friday to spread the word. I want every kid in this school to know what's expected of him. Tell them we're aiming for 60 cans per person. More if they can manage it, he grinned with satisfaction. Don't worry, we'll pull it off. The boys began to file out en route to their afternoon classes. Sergeant Harold P. Featherstone, Jr., was watching television. As a matter of fact, except for a 20-minute lunch break at Willie's Hamburger Emporium and half an hour for dinner at the diner across the road, he had been watching television all day. Disappointingly, there had been no fish broadcast since 8:45 that morning. He lay down on the bed with his tape recorder to make his report. Investigation Fish, he began. Field report number 1. Sergeant Harold P. Featherstone, Special Division reporting. He recorded the details of the 8:45 incident and racked his brain for something else to say. I am convinced, he continued, unsuccessfully suppressing a yawn, that something very significant may be taking place here. The fish, as it were, may be... His voice trailed off and he fell asleep, snoring gently. The tape continued to turn, recording his peaceful slumber. Next door, in room 14, a tall, cadaverous man crouched with his ear pressed against the wall, trying in vain to hear what was being said in Featherstone's room. Bruno, Boots, you guys must be crazy to come here after what happened the last 2 times, exclaimed Diane Grant as the 2 McDonald Hall boys entered through the window. Is the old girl all right? Asked Bruno. Oh, she's fine, said Kathy. Don't worry about Miss Scrimmage. She's immortal. Mad, too. When she called to complain, the fish didn't believe her. So that's how come we got away with it. Anyway, here's your philodendron. Boots placed a potted plant on the desk. Bruno laughed. At first, Elmer was reluctant to part with one of his little friends, but we told him either to fork it over or come here and personally explain to you why you couldn't have it. After that, he donated it with an open heart. You really made an impression on him. We try, said Kathy modestly. What's happening with the world's record? Plenty, replied Boots. Bruno's got the whole school in an uproar over it. Terrific, exclaimed Kathy. I love uproars. Can we help? Yes, said Bruno. As a matter of fact, you can. We're going for the world's largest pop can pyramid record, and we need some cans. How many? Asked Diane. Oh, no more than 32,000, said Bruno casually. Sure, retorted Kathy sarcastically. No problem. Tomorrow I'll just stroll out and pick up 32,000 pop cans. Simplicity itself. Listen, insisted Bruno, exasperated. Just tell the girls to get all the pop cans they can find. As it happens, you've picked a good time. The whole school is going to the Ontario Art Gallery on Saturday. Or so Miss Scrimmage thinks. Kathy, Diane protested. We can't. We can and we will, was Kathy's reply. And Miss Scrimmage can't expel us because we're taking the whole school along. There's strength in numbers. Boots cast Bruno a strange look. He had heard that philosophy before. Right, said Bruno. You girls should be able to pick up a lot of cans in a city the size of Toronto. Keep them for us, and we'll get them on Saturday night. So we won't be seeing you for a while, said Diane, with a mixture of regret and hope. Right, agreed Boots. Good night. And he swung a leg over the sill. His shoe came off and fell to the ground with a thud. Halt! Cried a voice, and they could see the beam of a flashlight below. Oh, no, moaned Bruno, yanking Boots away from the window. It's her again. What does she want from me? Your neck, snapped Boots. And mine. She'll be up here in a minute. We better get you guys to Sanctuary. Kathy bustled them out into the corridor and knocked on the next door. A tall red-haired girl opened and peered out. Hi, Ruth, greeted Kathy genially. Would you hide these for us? We'll be back for them soon. She shoved Bruno and Boots into the room, shut the door, and returned to her own room. Hi, Ruth, said Boots conversationally. I'm Bruno. He's Boots. The girl grinned. I've heard about you two. The Sleeping Beauty over there, she indicated her slumbering roommate, is Wilma Dorf. There were quick footsteps in the hall. And the avenging angel out there, whispered Bruno, is Miss Scrimmage. What have you got in the way of a listening device? Ruth reached into the bathroom and handed him a drinking glass. Bruno put his ear to the glass and the glass to the wall, just in time to hear Kathy saying, Oh, Miss Scrimmage, they were back. They were bothering us. Never mind, dear, comforted the headmistress. I chased them away, but I've got them this time. One of them left his shoe behind. Now that old goat, now Mr. Sturgeon, will have to admit that I am right and that his boys have been harassing us. Miss Scrimmage, you're so clever, exclaimed Kathy. I do what I must, replied Miss Scrimmage modestly. Now you two go to sleep. Young ladies must have their rest. Bruno heard the door click, and then more footsteps in the hall. In a few seconds, Kathy was tapping at the door. Ruth opened it. Thanks a lot, said Kathy. I hope they weren't too much trouble. They're very mischievous, you know. It's their age, grinned Ruth. Good night. Kathy ushered them back into her room, where they found Diane white as a sheet. Kathy, how could you say that with a straight face? She asked aghast. Don't you get scared? Kathy laughed. Of Miss Scrimmage? Never, she turned to Bruno and Boots. I'm afraid you'll have to stick around for a while. I think Miss Scrimmage is going over to Mr. Sturgeon's house with Boots's shoe. If she sees you two walking across the campus, she'll blast you to kingdom come. My shoe, moaned Boots. The fish'll know it's mine. Don't be an idiot, soothed Bruno. It's just a sneaker after all. I know, said Kathy brightly. Nothing livens up a dull evening like food. Diane, see what you can find in the kitchen. It was after 1 a.m. when Mr. Sturgeon answered the insistent ringing of his doorbell. He opened the door to find Miss Scrimmage standing there, indignation written all over her face. Your gang of marauders was back tonight, she accused. I scared them away. I see, said Mr. Sturgeon cautiously. I trust they didn't hurt you. No, I'm fine, thank you, the headmistress replied. She waved Boots's tennis shoe under his nose. One of them left this behind. A significant clue, wouldn't you say? Mr. Sturgeon smiled thinly. Miss Scrimmage, that shoe could very well belong to one of your girls. Miss Scrimmage stiffened. Young ladies do not have feet of such gargantuan proportions, she retorted icily. I want you to have a bed check immediately, and every boy at McDonald Hall must be made to try on this shoe. That way we shall discover who one of the terrorists is. Mr. Sturgeon did something he seldom did. He laughed out loud. Miss Scrimmage, he replied finally, still chuckling. This is a school, not a 20th century version of Cinderella. May I suggest you go home and sleep it off? No doubt things will look brighter in the morning. Good night. Miss Scrimmage turned around and marched off in a huff. Mrs. Sturgeon appeared at her husband's elbow. Mildred, he said, wait till you hear this. I heard, she sighed. Cinderella, he nodded. Mildred, if things go badly and we do lose McDonald's Hall, my one consolation will be that I'll never have to put up with her again. Elmer pulled Bruno and Boots in through the window of room 201. Where have you been? It's after 3. Where have you been? It's after 3. Bruno cast Elmer a look that could have melted lead and hurled himself onto his bed without a word. You'll have to excuse him, Boots exclaimed with a grin. Miss Scrimmage was out there again, and he's having a confidence crisis. I don't know, Bruno growled. It's getting to be so guys can't sneak out after lights out anymore. What's going on around here anyway? Boots shrugged and began to prepare for bed. I have some news, offered Elmer timidly. My cure for the common cold is ready to be tested. Miraculously restored, Bruno jumped up. Hot gazoobies! We'll do it tomorrow. Who do we know with a cold? Nobody, said Boots. None of the guys have colds right now. It's not the cold season. Surely somebody has a cold, insisted Bruno. Across the hall in room 200, Housemaster Flynn went into a spasm of violent sneezing. He could be heard rustling around, clearing his throat and blowing his nose. Bruno and Boots exchanged looks of pure delight. And that's the end of that chapter.